Janome.
Hey everybody, welcome to Janome's home studio. My name is Educator Kate Quinn and I'm here to share one of my favorite quilting techniques. Rulerwork is an amazing process that lets you quilt better than ever. When you're doing it, you're taking apart the design aspect of sewing and thinking about the design. The ruler does a lot of the work for you, so once you've made your decision about laying down the ruler, you can just concentrate on the sewing. Janome has some great products to really help you with this process. So I'm here to introduce those to you today. The first one that I'd like to share with you is Janome's Rulerwork Kit. So that is this product right here. It has a collection of templates in it that are super useful, including an amazing straight edge and a fabulous curve, along with a few other templates that can really do some beautiful designs. In addition to that, it has a marking tool called a crosshair square. So we'll be sharing that a little bit later so you can see each of the pieces that are in the set. It also has a pattern included in the product just to get you started and give you a little bit of information as you get started with this process of ruler work. Now they've also come out with something called their edge-to-edge template set. So I'm going to just put that up here as well. This is their edge-to-edge template set. There are 4 templates in that, and it allows you to quilt your quilt from top to bottom, plus you can use those edge-to-edge pieces to create different motifs for blocks, and it's a very versatile classic set. So we're going to showcase some of those elements and show you the pieces that are in each of those sets so that you can really get a good idea of what those products look like. Before we move on to that section, I want to highlight that ruler work requires a ruler foot. You cannot use your free motion foot or a darning foot to do this product. You have to have a specific type of foot called a ruler foot. So what I've laid out for you is some of Janome's ruler feet. Janome has several feet for many of their different machines. Most machines can do this technique. I want to introduce you to just a few of these feet. One of our newest, and I think one of the greatest, is our Accurate Stitch Regulator. It looks quite like a contraption, right? You'll see that it's got the tall sidewall on the foot, and the foot is the 1/2-inch circle. And then what is this long cord? This cord connects to the back of the machine, and there is an optical sensor on the foot that detects how fast you move, and it will speed up or slow down the machine in order to have your stitches look amazing. It keeps them that beautiful size, whatever you select. We can make the stitches larger or smaller depending on your preference. This foot also comes with other attachments, but if you're doing ruler work, make sure that you put on the ruler work attachment for this foot. This is available for machines that include this accessory, including the M17, the M8, and also our 9480. So those are the machines that are available at this time that use this Accurate Stitch Regulator. If you have a machine that is high shank, we have a high shank ruler foot. So it is the same style of foot, but it is designed for either the high shank or the low shank setting. And you can see there that the screw position is different. That's what determines if a machine is high or low. If the screw is low down to the base of the machine, that's low shank. And if it's about 1 inch or so above the bed of the machine, that's high shank. And those are available on Janome.com. If you're not sure which one fits your machine, you can easily look it up on our website. We have one more foot in our Janome line, and this is for machines that have our electronic lift. It fits many of the Skyline, the M7, the 9450. Many of those machines have the ability to electronically change the foot position, and this is the foot that fits those machines. Again, if you have any questions, please reference your dealer, or you can look on Janome.com and find out which ruler foot is the right one for your machine. Now that we've introduced you to Janome's Rulerwork line, let's take a look at what's inside these amazing kits. So our first kit that we're introducing is the Janome Rulerwork kit. The first piece in the kit is called the crosshair square, and it is an 8-point marking tool. It's not used for sewing, it's used to mark your fabric for designs. So that's this flat piece. It has slots in it that allow us to use a marking tool, and it'll split a segment into 8 equal parts. So if we're doing spiral designs, this is very useful for lining up the templates. It has a lot of uses. It's not just a one-trick wonder, but in general, it's designed to segment the space into 8 units. You can also segment it further, so you can do 16 lines or 32 lines. And there's a specific way to use that tool that we'll showcase a little bit later. The next one is the straight ruler. So I love this tool because it allows us to make beautiful, perfect straight lines. It also has a 90-degree marker, so we can use that to line it up on seam lines to make sure that our lines are perfectly aligned on our quilted project. So very, very useful. Each of the markings on it are a 1/4 inch apart. That helps us if we want to space lines different distances, so we can create a pattern. For example, we could have a 1-inch space and then a 1/2 inch space and a 1-inch space. So it's really useful if we're trying to create patterns. That's one of the best tools, and I recommend a straight ruler for anyone that is doing ruler work. It's also very useful for stitch in the ditch. The next tool that I'm going to showcase is our 6-inch arc. It's based on a 6-inch circle, so the diameter of the arc is essentially a piece of a 6-inch circle. And one of the things that I really like about this tool is this inner arc and the outer arc are the same. So if I'm sewing this way, I can use the reference lines on the inside, and if I need to sew the other way, I can use the reference lines on the outside, and they'll produce the same shape. Even though they look different from the inside to the outside, the reason for that is one is an inner arc and one is an outer arc. The ruler foot's always going to add a 1/4 inch, so on the inside it makes it a little smaller, and on the outside it makes it a little bigger. And that's why this tool is so useful, because you can go either direction. This next tool is called a spin effects, and I love it because it actually produces 2 different looks. If I rotate this design from the ruler foot at the bottom, this little spike will stick out away from the center, so it's going to produce a little bit more spiky design with more overlap in the center. But if I flip it around and I have this in the center where the fullness is away from the center, it's going to produce a design that's more like a flower. These are in particular useful in community with this crosshair square. So those marking tools that you would use that to align this tool. So these are going to produce some really great motifs. Then this is a terrific border tool. This is a double clamshell. So the base right here is 1.5, and then this is about 2 inches tall when it sews out, and this is about 1.5. So this is going to make a really great border design. Plus it can be used in many different ways, as can most rulers. They don't usually just do one thing, but in general, the most popular design that this is going to do would be a border style. This one is called the squat oval. You can use this for many different things. Motifs look great with this. It'll make a small central motif. And then this also makes a really terrific border that can be used in many different ways. And then our last in this grouping is called Hearts Aplenty. And you can use this to make a heart. It'll make kind of a cute folk art style of heart. And then it can also be used as a border, and the hearts can either overlap or they can touch each other right on the edge. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use these tools. Almost every one of these tools will have some type of reference line on it or a marking alignment that helps you set the design right where you want it. Often we use seam lines as guides, and you'll see that I do use a lot of marking as well to make sure that the design is going to go right where I want it and look very precise. I'm going to show you one last little piece that's in the set. These are called stable tape. They kind of look like shelf liner adhesive, but they have acrylic safe adhesive on the back, which is very important because if you use a caustic adhesive on the back, you may actually melt the plastic. So these stable tape, they're very safe to use on these. They're not going to damage the template or cause any problems when you're using it. They do wear out, but they are going to last a good year if your templates are stored in a clean, dry place away from heat. So once they stop working, you can just cut another piece and put it on. The way that they'll come is they'll come in a long strip like that, and I recommend cutting them into approximately 1/2-inch pieces. And when you're putting them on, you'll see that I've got them already on the rulers. You want to put them where you're going to hold the ruler, so that when you're holding it against the fabric, that you're getting good bang for your buck. If I'm trying to hold, for example, right there, that isn't going to really do anything if there's no stable tape right there. So when you first get your rulers, you want to play with them a little bit, and then make sure that you put your grip tape underneath your fingers. One thing I want to showcase, let's see, we'll use this one really quickly because I think you can kind of see my ruler is a little beat up because it's heavily used. You'll see that the logo right there, Janome, this will be what I would consider the front of the ruler. When you can read that word, the side that's facing you, that is the front. All of these white markings then are etched on the back of the ruler. That offers two things. It offers protection because they're physically etched into the plastic, which means when they rub against the fabric, they're not going to wear those lines away because the lines are recessed and protected. It's also important that we then use the back against the fabric. If we have it flipped upside down where the lines are on the top, the lines may cast a visual shadow, which can make it perhaps a little bit more difficult to align the template. Now, it's not a rule that you can't use it upside down. You certainly could, but you'll note that the lines will not be as clean. So some templates, you may need to switch them over to get the curves and things to go the other way. But in general, if you can, I recommend using it so that the logo is face up and you can read the words. That's going to give you the most precise alignment and the best visual of all of the reference lines that are on the ruler. So that's a pretty good introduction to this set. This is Rulerwork Kit, and then we have another set that we'll share with you. So Janome's edge-to-edge template set includes 4 different templates. As Rulerwork has become more popular, there's been a bigger call to have some simplicity and a template that can quilt an entire quilt without a lot of complications. So I want to introduce the 4 templates that are in this set. They are fantastic and so versatile. The first one that I'm going to show you is called the Mini Multi-Arc Deep Oval Template. And what it is the base of the template is a specific size. So you can see this one, this is measured at 4.5 inches, and that is the measurement of the base, the bottom. And then it's however tall it is, right? Different sizes for each one of these. But that way, if I know that I need to fit a certain size, I can pick the dimension that fits whatever I need for my border, for my sashing, and I can also use this as an all-over for a deep clamshell over an entire quilt. It quilts up quickly and it's very easy to use. There's really only the very basic reference lines of the center and the bottom. So super easy to use, and it has 4 different sizes, 1, 2, 3, and 4 inches across the base. This next one is one of my absolute favorites. It's called the back-to-back template, and it actually has 2 different sizes. So you'll see that it essentially is a clamshell right here. This is a 3-inch clamshell, but it is an S curve. So it's going to go up and down, and it makes a lot of fantastic different designs. Of course, I can just use the single clamshell and build a clamshell design as an edge-to-edge, or I can do these undulating curves. What's unique about the back-to-back is we get one size on one side of the template and a different size on the other. So real quick, I'm just going to flip it over, and you'll see that this is the same S curve right here, but it has 2. This one is measuring at 1.5 inches, so that's why we get 2 of these S curves. The total dimension of this ruler from the hook to this hook is 6 inches long, and just using that simple information can really help you if you're trying to fit that curve into a specific space. The next one that we have is called the Mini Peak. It's an artisan curve style of template, and that means that you use these pinholes in a specific way, that you can use these to make a motif. But then this shape is also great for doing stacked curves, creating borders, and you can do also then free motion fills inside of it once you build the shape with the ruler. This little slot allows you to pass your needle through and the thread, so if you're moving, taking the ruler off, then you don't have to necessarily cut your thread, and you can take the ruler on and off as you build the design if you need to. This one is similar. This is also an artisan curve, but this is actually a 2-inch square. So of course we could use it as a square if we wanted to, but it's kind of set up to use it as an on-point square, and you would stack the design in rows so that you could have this really pretty graphic, and it makes a great edge to edge. Both of this and the peak have that pass-through area where you can move it, and the reason why that's powerful is you can use this and measure how far apart that you want these to be. So if you want more space in between or less, you pass the needle through here, you put the ruler foot in here, and then you can space how far apart that you want those shapes to be. So very, very versatile. I also love to use this bump stop area for any kind of stitch in the ditch. You would align this edge right along the seam, and then the needle is 1/4 inch away from the foot, so it would be able to stitch right down the ditch just by aligning these two edges. So it's very easy then to just move the ruler down and continue stitching in the ditch. So very practical tools that really allow us to do a lot of different designs. There are instructions in the packet, and it's a great way to get your quilt quilted quickly and beautifully.